we are going over what's going to end up being our final objective of the unit. We're skipping CO37. CO36 is definitely worth our time. It's talking about absolute value equations. Now, we talked about absolute value much earlier in the year, or maybe did last year as pre-algebra. What is absolute value? What is absolute value? Kaylin?
The distance of the number from 0.
Excellent memory. That's fantastic. Absolute value is the distance of a number from 0. The distance of a number from 0. How far away a number is from 0. And then in the same objective, I think it was, last year, Algebra CO3, you also talk about opposites, right? And what makes, first of all, what's an example of opposite numbers and why are they opposites? Colin.
An example would be like 5 and -5.
Okay, and why are 5 and -5 opposites?
They're not the same number, but they're the same. They have the same absolute value.
Right, they have the same absolute value. Okay, they're both 5 away from 0. So when solving absolute value equations, if you kind of look at the equations that are down on this page, you recognize hopefully those absolute value bars. Okay, your goal. Remember back in PO7 when we had a goal for combining like terms, a goal for distributive property, a goal for variables on both sides. Okay, our goal for absolute value equations is to isolate the absolute value bars there's a semicolon, so you know there's something else coming after this. But our first is to isolate the absolute value bars and then set up 2 equations to solve. I should put 2 lines for that one. So we've had situations before where n, or the variable, equaled 1 solution. That's kind of your standard equation. We've had equations where there is no solution, right? Those are a lot of fun. We've had equations where n can be anything, all solutions. And now we're getting to a situation where n can be 2 numbers, right? Absolute value equations, okay? Any questions on or definition? Need more time? We're all good? Okay, all right. So moving down the page, let's get some examples here, okay? And we're going to start where n is already by itself. The absolute value bars are already by itself. Just kind of review our understanding what absolute value means, okay? This first one, the absolute value of n equals 7. Now, Nathan, when you see those absolute value bars around a term, I want you to think n is a distance of 7 from 0. Those absolute value bars mean a distance from 0. So if n is a distance, this is the key right here. If you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it. If n is a distance of 7 from 0, this is why we get 2 answers. Because what 2 numbers are a distance of 7 from 0, Tristan? 7. Right. N can be 7 or -7. Because if we plug in +7 or we plug in -7, what's the distance of 7 from 0? 7. What's the distance of -7 from 0? 7. Also 7. Okay? So the reason why absolute value has 2 solutions for the variable is because there are 2 sides to 0. And because we're talking about the distance from 0, there are 2 numbers that are the same distance. Okay? Follow me so far? Paul?
Nope.
All right. The next one. The absolute value of n plus 1 equals 66. Okay? Now the bars are by themselves. You would not go ahead and subtract 1 from this because that 1 is kind of trapped inside the bars with the n. Now that we've got the bars by themselves, here's where we think about what absolute value means. This means n plus 1 is a distance of 66 from 0. N plus 1 is a distance of 66 from 0. That means that n plus 1 could be 66 or negative 66. If n plus 1 is a distance of 66 from 0, that means n plus 1 can be 66 or negative 66. And here's where your two equations come into play. N plus 1 can be 66, or n plus 1 can be negative 66. And now that we've dealt with the bars, now we can use opposite operations to solve this. Subtract 1 from both sides, n equals 65. That's your first solution. Subtract 1 from both sides, n equals negative 67. There's your second solution. Okay? Notice that these solutions for n are not opposites. The reason why they're not opposites is because there's other stuff happening inside the bars other than n being just by itself. If we plug these values in for n into the original equation, we would get 65 plus 1, or the absolute value of 66, which is what? 66. If we plug in the other solution, we get the absolute value of negative 67 plus 1, or the absolute value of negative 66, which is what?
66.
Also 66. Okay? Did I lose anybody on that one?
Yes.
Okay.
So how
Let's-
can it possibly be 66 and negative 66?
It's not.
Okay.
That's not what the answer is. The solution to the variable is right here.
Okay.
Okay? Because when you plug each of those into the original equation, what ends up being inside the bars is 66 and negative 66.
Is that all we have to do?
Because this distance needs to be 66 away from 0. And those are what the two values are there. Sam, where did I?
Is that all we have to do for this?
Yes.
Oh, that's easy.
Well, I'm glad. Yes, good. I'm glad you think it's easy now. Because I mean, we're building, working it out. Okay, Paisley.
Are you gonna make this harder for us for the next two questions?
He doesn't like that.
Oh no, sorry, no. This one.
Why would you do that?
Finn.
Mr. Trudeau, if we want to talk logic here, like with the n plus 1 equals 66, if we wanted to talk like it was an actual equation, the negative 66 won't work because negative 66 doesn't equal 66.
It doesn't, but the absolute value of negative 66 equals positive 66. Because the absolute value is how far
I'm
away
just
from
saying,
0
like
is.
if you were to do it like a logical, it's a standard equation.
Yes,
Then the negative
then it doesn't work.
wouldn't work
Exactly. Charlotte, Brielle,
for that.
Julian, Will. Okay. Will, you had your hand up, said that I lost you. Where can I?
I'm good.
Oh, okay. Let's look at the next one. 3n plus 2 equals 13. Okay? So the bars are by themselves. Okay? Which means that we can think, what does this mean? If the absolute value of 3n plus 2 is 13, that means that 3n plus 2 is a distance from 13 from 0. Which means that 3n plus 2 can be either
13 or negative
13 or negative 13, because both of those numbers are a distance of 13 from 0. And that is where your two equations come from. 3n plus 2 can be 13. 3n plus 2 can also be negative 13. Okay? It's tough to get from unless you have a solid understanding what's going on here. It's tough to see the reasoning to get from here directly to here. It's those intermediate steps. Okay, what does absolute value mean? A distance from 0. Okay, so 3n plus 2 is a distance of 13 from 0. Okay, 13 and negative 13 are both a distance of 13 from 0. All right, so therefore, 3n plus 2 can equal both 13 and negative 13. That's the thought process. Then you go ahead and you solve this using opposite operations because now the bars are gone. You have 3n equals 11. Divide both sides by 3. N is 11 thirds. It's ugly, but it's there. The next one, subtract 2 from both sides. 3n equals negative 15. Divide by 3. N is negative 5. Those are your two solutions. Okay. Those are your two solutions. Questions on that one? Again, notice these are definitely not opposites. They're not even close, right? But if you plug them in, you'll see that they work. If we plug in negative 5 in for n, we have 3 times negative 5 plus 2, or the absolute value of negative 15 plus 2, which is the absolute value of negative 13. And the absolute value of negative 13 is 13. That's 13 away from 0. Okay? It works. Why?
Me too.
Where are you getting lost? No. Don't just if you're not understanding, stop me now. Don't just say I'm gonna fail this and then fail it, right? Ask a question. Well, how can I help you?
It's not that it's difficult, it's just logic and interpretation is definitely not my best.
Oh, that's why we practice it. If we only practice the things that we've mastered, we're never gonna get any better, right? If all we did K through 8 math was add to make 10, you'd be really good at it, but you're not going to get Paul. Turn around. Leave him alone. He leaves you alone. You leave him alone.
Looking at him. Talking to me.
Even worse. Eli.
When are we ever going to use this?
Never.
The next page when we talk about standard deviation, that's where this comes from. Standard deviation. Standard deviation. We've done standard deviation before. It's an acceptable value above or below something. When you see a speed limit sign that's 70 miles per hour, really, most officers will give you a standard deviation of like plus minus 5.
Oh yeah, I remember
Or
that.
if you're- right.
So
So,
I'm gonna need that plus.
books. Sam.
This is not made.
Okay, where am I losing you?
You don't. I just don't feel like I'm ever going to use
Okay,
it. Try to the next one.
then pass the test and put it behind you. Paisley.
Which one do you think is worse? Slope intercept form or this?
This.
Are you serious?
Well, I think it's worse.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with both of them. I don't have an
Well,
opinion.
it's your teeth.
Nick.
I'm confused on the equations.
Hey, folks. So Nick is. Are you asking where we get these equations from? Okay. So back up here. Do you understand where this thought comes from?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
No. Do you understand what absolute value means? Okay, the distance from 0, right? So this value, whatever it is a distance of 13 from 0. Good? So then in your mind, you can say that value, 3n plus 2, is a distance of 13 from 0. Hey, folks. Shh. So, Nick, what two numbers are a distance of 13 from 0? Okay? So that means that value value, 3n plus 2, can be both 13 and negative 13. Follow me?
Yeah.
So we now need to figure out what value for n makes 3n plus 2 equal to 13. There's your first equation. What value for n makes 3n plus 2 equal to negative 13? That's your second equation. How does it feel now?
A little bit better.
A little bit better. With practice, it'll be even better than better. Okay? Nathan,
Besides the coppers, when are we ever gonna use this?
there are, when you take your high school placement test, if you are going to a private school, that is real life, Nathan. I hope you go to high school, Nathan. But anyway,
Outside of school.
3, 2, 1, you are quiet. When you take that placement test and you're testing into Algebra 2, which is the track that you're kind of projected to be on, they want you to have a target score. Let's say it's 100, okay? But there's a plus minus of 10. That means if you score exactly 100, the projection would be the exact middle of the class. You would get some stuff, you wouldn't get other stuff. It'd be, you know, if you get 110, you still are in that Algebra 2 range, but you'll probably be one of the brighter students. Things will come a little bit easier. If you get a 90, you're still in that Algebra 2 range, but you're likely going to struggle a lot more than someone else who scored higher. Okay? IQ, right? Nathan, clearly you're not going to accept any answer I'm going to give you. And so I am going to take your question
Explain this to me.
and move on. Leah. Any type of manufacturing, when you, for example, there's a question on this test for a length of bicycle chain or the height of a bowling pin, right? If you went bowling and all the pins were different sizes, it'd be pretty interesting, right? The machines that make the bowling pins are not perfect. They are very precise, but they're not perfect. And so a standard height of a bowling pin in like the professional bowling leagues is a certain height plus or minus like half a millimeter, to where you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at it, right? But if you put it under a high-powered bike, you see it's a little bit different. Your sub at Subway, when you order that foot-long sub, they have a right to give you an 11 3/4 inch sub, and you cannot sue them for underfeeding you, right? Because there's a standard deviation of what's acceptable. Okay? Those of you that are already in show choir or have done competitions before, your performance must be like a certain time. They don't want a show choir up there for an hour. They don't want a show choir up there for 15 seconds. Okay? I think 20 minutes is the time, plus or minus like 2. So if you finish in 21 minutes, 30 seconds, you're not going to get penalized. You go over that 22-minute mark, you will get penalized. Standard deviation is actually a very applicable thing. If you've already decided that you're not going to use it, then I'm not going to convince you that you will, right? If you've already made up your mind, okay, you asked me the question, I gave you the answer.
No.
Cole, is this math or football?
Math.
What?
When will we use it outside of school?
Just said it.
It's okay.
He's thinking about
He just
football.
kind of.
Yes.
Can you just
Well,
explain the
on that
next
one.
question,
I need a
please?
button for that. I need a complete mental meltdown button.
Do it.
I don't have one. I need
Get a crying
Sam.
I'm on track to get
Good job. All right, that's really all the time we have for it today. We'll pick up with this tomorrow. No homework. Maybe it will be a Tuesday morning test. I don't know.